Hello and welcome back to the Metamystic Show. Today we are talking about the Nine of Swords and how to escape the nightmare. Well, the Nine of Swords is a card of feeling kind of like you're in a room with the walls closing in and your heart is beating fast and you don't know how to get out, right? In any area of your life. This is a feeling of waking up in the middle of the night. See how he has his head in his hands? And he's waking up in the middle of the night, sitting up in his bed, and he feels like he is at a loss. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to get out of this. He feels like everyone's against him. He feels like life is against him. He feels like he, even if he wanted to, does not know how to escape this nightmare. Now, of course, with the Nine of Swords, it's a scale, right? It's a spectrum. It's not always like all the way over to 10. It's not always so extreme as you feel like the walls are closing in and you don't know what to do. Sometimes it's kind of this low-grade sound, like an annoyance, like an anxiety in your chest, a tightness in your limbs. You feel this thing in the back of your mind that's always kind of bothering you. It could be like, if it were a 1, it'd be kind of like a low-pitched sound of something that you know you need to deal with, but you don't deal with it. If you missed the 8 of Swords, we talk a little bit about that. We talk about how it's best to handle the bill on the counter that you keep pushing under the magazine. It's best to handle that proverbial bill, or literal, before it gets out of hand. It's best to look at a situation before it becomes the Nine of Swords. But since we're here, no judgment, right? This is a no judgment zone. It's not like, oh, why did I do this? Why did I do this? In fact, that's only going to inflame the Nine of Swords energy even more. If you let a fire spiral out of control, we need to handle that. There's no time to think about how we suck at life and how did we let this happen. That's not going to do anything. Let's come up with a solution. There is a solution with the Nine of Swords. It is not a hopeless card, right? It's not something that we can't get out of. It's something that we are able to escape. And that's why I entitled this episode, How to Escape the Nightmare. Because you do have to escape the Nine of Swords. It's kind of like an energy that tries to pull you back in. Some of us, we could actually be addicted to this energy, especially if we grew up, in abusive situations, if we've dated people who were abusive, right? We get addicted to the chaos, addicted to the drama. And when we do have peace, actually, that seems like the Nine of Swords. And the chaos might seem normal, right? So it depends where we are on this scale. Like I said, no judgment, right? How to escape the nightmare. Step number 1, realize you're in one. Because this is the funny thing about the Nine of Swords, especially if we have become acclimated to this energy. If we're dealing with a job that we hate, if we are with a person that we feel that we are unaligned with, but we feel like it's actually easier to stay in the situation than it is to leave. If this is a financial thing, if this is just our own mental health where we know we should probably get outside help, but we're not used to asking for help. In fact, it feels like it would be better to just stay in this than to risk things becoming even worse. by opening up this Pandora's box or this can of worms. There's a fear. And this is part of the Nine of Swords trap. And it is a trap. It's a mental trap. It's a mental trick. It's swords. It's the mental. It's the mind. The Nine of Swords is a very tricky energy, in my opinion. See how he has this blanket over him? This is his comfort blanket. So it's kind of ironic, this energy. So it can play kind of two roles. It's kind of like the angel and the devil on the shoulder sometimes. Sometimes you see it clearly and it's just like, wow, this sucks. This feels terrible. This is giving me anxiety. This person's toxic. I hate this job. I'm going to leave. And then we're like, all right, let's get out of this. We're done. Other times, the Nine of Swords can be the repeating of a cycle. And that's why I said at the start of this that this is the tricky part about the Nine of Swords, is that sometimes this state of anxiety, of pressure, of chaos, of nightmare actually feels kind of homey. Kind of feels more like home than being treated like a human being. My album Dehumanized will be coming out this fall. Thank you, everybody. All about this topic that I'm talking about today. That you felt like you were literally dehumanized. Your humanity was stripped from you. And yet that felt more comforting with this comfort blanket here than facing the music that you could actually be loved in this life. Right? So step number 1, it's realizing that you're even in a nightmare. This is the sad part, especially if you are more on the extreme side of the spectrum with the Nine of Swords, and this is a repetitive cycle, and you keep dating the same asshole, and you keep dealing with like traumas from your past that come up, and we all have them. The thing with the Nine of Swords is sometimes we don't even realize we can do better. We don't even or we don't think we can. Like, oh, maybe this person's like the best I can do. They're not the best you can do. I'll tell you that right now with not knowing who you are, any of your history. This is a blanket statement. Speaking of blanket, this is a blanket statement. You can do better. If you're thinking to yourself that you can't, you can. That's step number 1 of the Nine of Swords, is realizing you are the one with the power, not this energy. This energy feels like, it kind of feels like the devil card to me sometimes, where it feels like you are stuck in its grasp and there's nothing you can do to escape it. That is never true. Not one time, not in any situation. Well, I have this crazy extreme situation and this and that, and I don't care what the situation is. There are so many stories of people who have gotten out of the most extreme situations. What is that show called? Like I Survived or something. It's this show about people that survived extraordinary things, like being stabbed 25 times. They were like taken captive. They escaped. Like, you can get out of, escape any possible nightmare that you are in. That is step number 1, is realizing that that's even possible. Once we realize we are in a nightmare to begin with, and we take a moment to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is a process, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't just like, wow, it's going to be so easy. It's not. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It's not going to be easy to get out of the Nine of Swords. It's a trap. It's a mental trap. And for some of us, it's many, 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 many years and cycles and people dating back all the way to the beginning of this life and past lives. Right? That's why we have therapists, right? Because we need help sometimes to get out of this stuff. And I'll get to that. Number 2 is unraveling this dream, this nightmare. Realizing that it is like a dream. it's not really real. And I'm not saying your pain and your suffering is not real. That's real. But what I'm saying is the fact, the illusion, the delusion, the lie, it's from the devil, quote unquote, the devil. It's from the devil. That you are stuck in this state, that you did something to deserve this. Well, it's always been this way. It's been this way since I was a kid, or it's been this way since I started dating, or it's been this way since I started making money. I've always had money problems. It's been this way since I was younger, or, ever since, I started having health issues and it just kept getting worse. Whatever this nightmare is for you, I don't want to sound, I'm just going to say it because I've seen with my own eyes the way that people have handled certain things. I've seen people with cancer going through chemo with a smile on their face because of the way that they see life. They're not living in a nightmare. They're living in a dream, right? And there's a difference there. It's that this is of the mind. We can be in very challenging situations, but not be in this energy. Again, and that's why I say this is the challenging card. There is this, to me, I hate this card. I hate this energy, and why that is because it's tricky. Because it knows all the spots to press in you. It knows where your insecurities and your weaknesses are. This guy sitting up with his head in his hands in the middle of the night, that is like the most vulnerable position you could possibly be in. He's literally in his pajamas. And it's like the devil sneaking in his room at night saying, hey, let's talk about all your insecurities. Hey, all the things that scare you. Let's have a conversation about those things. Remember all those things that make you feel anxious and depressed? Yeah. Now would be a good time at 3 a.m. when you're in your most vulnerable state, half asleep, can't defend yourself. That's when we're going to have this conversation, right? Kind of sounds like the devil. You know what I mean? It's like, but this is the thing. This is your mind. The way that I see this card, I don't look at this as this guy is actually you. I look at this card as like, this is what the mind is. This is our mind. This is the real us on the outside. Like this is is us. This is kind of like looking into somebody's mind. Right? With all of our past memories and all of the things we've been through that create this kind of deformed version of reality that can be unraveled. And that's why step number 2 is begin to unravel this. Take control. It's all in your mind, right? This life is not easy. And we will all go through hard things. We've all been through hard things and we'll go through more, right? I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying that's this planet. That's why we're here. We're here to transcend this kind of an energy, right? So there is an element in this card of having to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and begin to unravel this mess. And it might not be your fault. You know what I mean? It might be something that, well, I dated this person because they reminded me of my father. And then I got stuck in a 9-year cycle with this person that beat me down so much to the point where I had no money. I had no autonomy. I had no self-esteem, so I didn't even feel like I could work a regular job anymore. Therefore, I felt trapped to this person, and then they took my car, and then they took control over what foods I ate. And so it got to the point over a 9-year cycle that it became like I was less than human. I didn't even know how to operate in society anymore. Well, that's when maybe we need help. Like maybe we need an outside person to help us like move through it. Maybe we need like a social worker. Maybe we need a therapist. Maybe we need a friend. Maybe we need to stay at our sister's place. Maybe we need, I'm just saying we need to get a plan together. And that's step 3. Once we begin to decide, yes, this is a nightmare that I am in, seeing that it is a nightmare, acknowledging that it is a nightmare and it's something we don't want, beginning to unravel this ball of yarn and unraveling the whole ball. And it could be a long time for some of us. It could be like 9 years. For some of us, it's the 9 of Swords, cycles, repetitive stuff, right? Not easy, very complicated, right? Once we do all that, we get to step number 3. Now we're ready. Now we're ready to take accountability that we do have the power to escape this nightmare, that we do have the ability, no matter how hard we've been beat down in the situations that we're in, we will choose consciously to be the phoenix that rises from the ashes. And one could argue that when you get out the other side of this mess, you will be counted with even more respect than the average person. Your story will be even more powerful because of what you got out of. Right? And I'm not saying that we should do all this for the approval of other people. I'm just saying it's like this, if you look at it from another perspective, this energy, when you overcome it, makes you, it's like I said in the 9 of Wands episode. If you missed that episode, go watch it. This is the sort of stuff that makes you a spiritual warrior. This is the sort of stuff that makes you very discerning of the darkness. This is the sort of energy where you can read somebody's micro expressions on their face and say, that's a narcissist. And everybody's like, what? That's Chet. We love him. He's an amazing guy. He's sexy and he's funny. He's charismatic. He buys us all beer at the bar every Friday night. He fixed my brother's car. He this and that. But he's literally evil. And you're able to pick that up because you've had previous experiences that were similar, right? So we come out of the 9 of Swords with tools. We don't just exit and then we're these victims for life that are just limping through life. No, once we get out of this, we take accountability. We take accountability for our part of it as well, because sometimes we just get so tired of fighting that we just want to lay down and kind of just accept that this is our fate and this is the best we can do and this is all there is. No. Step 3 is saying no. 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 This is not the best I can do. This is not the life that I am destined to lead. I can have happiness. I can have self-worth. I can have a partner that loves me. I can have money. Say no to less and say yes to more. You're not a regular person. You're not just here to freaking suffer. You're a light worker. And so you are going to go through a lot of this hellish sort of experience because you're here to bring light in the darkness. And where does light shine brightest? In the darkness. But sometimes empaths get stuck. Sometimes light workers get stuck and we forget, maybe we ran into this situation to play the hero. Say this is an abusive relationship that we're in. Maybe at first it seemed like, oh, I can really help this person. They have so much potential. I can help this person see all that they are. And we mean it. It's not even like in a toxic way, like, oh, I can fix this person. It's like, I can be a mirror to this person and I can help this person see their value. And then once we get deeper and deeper and deeper in there, then it's too late to get out. So sometimes empaths get stuck in the mission. And that's where step 4 comes in. Dig your way out. If you get stuck, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. And we can start here. We can start by, we don't even need to talk to humans yet. We'll get to that. If you are waking up in the middle of the night, which I have since I was a kid. I've had nightmares since I was a kid. I've had CPTSD for many years. I've been in lots of abusive situations. I have a hard time sleeping. I had a hard time sleeping last night. I woke up with crazy dreams, right? So I'm not saying like I'm perfect and I'm out of this. But I am a warrior, and I've learned a lot because of the shit that I've been through, and that's why I'm sitting here talking to you right now. I've literally made it my life's mission to work with these energies and put my hands into the darkness for myself, right? Instead of just talking about this like I am here, this is my daily practice, right? I work in the shadow as a high priestess. I purposely go into dark situations, and so have you, and that's probably why you got in the situation to begin with. But this is what happens sometimes. And I'm not saying we should, I don't think we should do this with like partners or, I think that this should be more of like a life mission where we go into the darkness and we bring light, and then we can go home and be with our family that loves us, in our safe, warm environment with our friends that support us, and our successful business on the side. I'm not saying that we should get in bed with people that are toxic so that we can bring darkness into the light. I'm saying no. I'm talking about this more as a mission-based vision, because I think that sometimes, especially when we're first getting into our work as light workers, it takes a long time to gain this discernment, like I was talking about in step 3 with Chet, and everybody loves Chet, and they don't understand why you're such a downer, and why you always have to be so judgmental, and why you can't like anybody, and why nobody's good enough for you, and you think you're better than everybody, and you're just sitting there like, you guys literally don't understand that their energy says narcissist. There's a reason why we go through this stuff too, my opinion, controversial possibly, that these are meant to happen. Not saying that, every bad thing that's ever happened to you was your choice necessarily. It's kind of just like we end up where the next plot point lies. It's like we're walking on this trail through life. Sometimes we take detours. Sometimes we get out too far into the woods, and that's what step 4 is about. If we get out too far into the woods, the first step, cry out to God, whoever God is to you, right where you are. It costs no money. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to express yourself to anybody if you have problems with vulnerability, if you're too scared to like bring up your issues with other people, if you feel like it's going to open up Pandora's box and people are going to get involved with your business and then make you do stuff that you don't want to do, and it makes it even worse than it was before, and you realize like, oh, I shouldn't have told that person this. Now they're going to go talk to my crazy boyfriend that's going to beat them up, and then I'm going to have to bust my boyfriend out of jail. You know what I'm saying? Just we'll get to human beings. Let's just start with, let's just pray. And if you don't believe in prayer, that's fine. It's like, ask for help. Who's there? Someone help me. Ancestors, guides, angels, God, deities, underworld, like anybody. Can somebody help me? I will bet my life on the fact you will receive help. Sometimes what will happen is you'll ask for help, and then all of a sudden you'll run into like a lady at work that you don't normally talk to, and you'll sit with them at lunch, and they'll start talking to you about their situation that they just got out of, and they have this great therapist that they've been going to, and then you're like, oh my God, maybe I should like go to her therapist. And then you start to kind of open up to her, and she's like, hey, this lady's always like super booked, but maybe if I ask her, like, can you take my friend? She'll take you on. I've been going to her for 3 years. And then there you go. It's like you get help brought to you, right? And that's part of this going back to step number 1. Well, it's throughout the whole lesson. It's understanding you actually have the power. Remember that. You can attract solutions to you, right? And I'm not saying we can't just like go and get a therapist, or we can't just go and ask our friend for help. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you have all these 9 of Swords reasons as to why you can't ask for help, ask your guides for help, ask your angels for help, ask your God for help, your gods for help, right? Even ask your own damn self. Sit with yourself and be like, what can we do? What can we do here? And I'm not talking about in like an anxious state. I'm saying in your power, you take your power back. You say, no, I am better than this. The best thing to say on the 9 of Swords is no. And be firm about it. Discard it like the narcissists do. They discarded you. And they don't have to be narcissists. I'm just saying. You feel discarded, you feel worth nothing, you feel dehumanized in a situation, you feel like you'll never get out, you're gonna be homeless and alone and afraid for the rest of your goddamn life. No, that really is the overall message of this. You're in the 9 of Swords, just say no. And begin to take your power back. The room is like quiet. When I said no, it like the no echoed against my guitars. You might just want to say out loud in your room with no context, no. And that's you standing up to this fear, right? I would reach out and ask God for help. That would really be like the first step I would take, and then see what happens, right? See what guidance you're given into your intuition as well. You might just start to feel like, maybe I'll do a little research. Maybe I'll see what therapists are in the area that like take my insurance, whatever. You're going to start feeling a way out. You're going to start to dig your way out. I love you guys so much. I hope that this message was helpful. It's been Missy Gordon, the Metamystic here, and I will see you on the next one. I love you guys.